some of the things, and keep in mind, guys, this, this is something, this is something that I'm doing to just try to help everybody, as far as kind of show you guys what I do and give you guys a little information. um I am not new to tanking. I have tanked back in vanilla. I've tanked in Wrath of the Lich King, in the Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King as a warrior and also as a Death Knight, in Mists of Pandaria as a Death Knight, warrior, even a Panda. All the way up to Legion. I've tanked, main tanked, either regular raids, heroic raids, or even mythic raids. So I've got a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and a lot of experience that I want to be able to help and share with everyone in my guild, but also too on the server as well. I have invited a lot of people from the server to be able to join the stream. Hopefully they'll be able to join, because this is some information that I just don't want to keep in the guild. I want to be able to share it with everybody and hopefully make this server better. All right. So with that, the first thing that I want to go over is add-ons. Okay, add-ons is super super useful, and I know there's a lot of people that have the mindset that, oh, I don't play with add-ons. I think if you're using an add-on, you're cheating, stuff like that. But you have to understand, the add-ons that I'm talking about are really add-ons that are there to help you give the information and present the information to you as efficiently as possible, and that way it makes you a better tank as far as your decision making on what you need to do and what steps you need to take to be able to fulfill your role, right? And that's the purpose of a good add-on. So some of the important add-ons that I like to use, okay, and we'll go over that, and I think that are super super important. There are some, dead giveaways, like deadly boss mods. Okay, if you're in any raiding guild, deadly boss mods, or even, I believe, bigwigs. Bigwigs is another one that people used to use back in the day as well. I don't know if there's a classic version, but deadly boss mods is a must, of course. Some of the ones that I also like to tell people to use, classic cast bar. Classic cast bar. You really should be tanking where you see this cast bar. So you can press V to turn on enemy nameplates. Classic cast bar. If this unit is casting, it'll put a cast bar right under their HP bar. And especially if you have like three or four other monsters, enemies beating on you, you're gonna see that, oh, this one is casting. I can swap over, interrupt, whatever needs to be done. War stomp if you're a Tauren, okay, interrupt it, and also you can call it out as well for your party. Okay, so classic cast bar, must have. Okay, other things that I like using, aura duration. So classic aura is great. You see here, so you're already generally going to see debuffs on a target, but auras, classic auras, is going to give you the value of that, okay, and which is super super good, especially if you're looking at like banish timers. This is what's going to give you the banish timer, and you're going to see it. And let's see if we can't stun someone. Do I have it? Yeah, I have a stun. So you'll see their icon right here. You see that icon changes. It changes to the concussion one, and also it gives you an actual timer on when it's gonna fall off. Okay, so super super important. It's really really great. It does a good job on not making it to where it's cheap and it's not playing the game for you, but it's giving you that information in a great neat manner. Okay, and we'll pull this real quick before we move on. Okay, other add-ons that I would have to say, I like to use, and you don't really have to use, I like to use a combination of neat plates. All right, neat plates is going to give you long dark shores. Neat plates is going to just give you information and also give you the values. CT mod's also going to give you values, and that's what I use too. So neat plates in conjunction with CT mod will give you values on your health, even your target. Okay, a lot of people, especially for warriors out there, especially if you're gonna do like a fury prop build, which is I'm doing. I'm gonna go over what I'm gonna do for any of the fury props that are gonna be watching, why it's important to know the values at least. Okay, right here it says 100%, especially if you're going to go to execute, because execute's at 20%. Okay, super important. You're going to need to know that, and you're going to kind of need to know this. And this is going to be a trick that I'm going to tack on to the DPS portion next week, because we're doing the tanking portion today. We'll do the DPS portion next Saturday. Okay, you need to know that when that 20% is going, because you kind of need to start spamming your execute or whatever it is before, if you did decide to execute while you're tanking. Up to you, completely up to you. It's going to also depend on what boss you're fighting. Okay, so neat plates in conjunction with also this is what I like to use, and it's called hold on one second. It is called easy frames. Okay, easy frames, and this is going to be super important. All right, let me grab a mob real quick. So easy frames is going to help you color code bars. So as you can see, I'm tanking right now. That bar is blue. If that bar is blue, that means it is tanking you. If someone pulls, and Mortana here will probably pull off of me here, you're gonna see this change once it stops attacking me. And this applies to everything, more than one enemy that's going to be attacking you. It's going to be super important to actually help you identify which units you've lost aggro on. Okay, another useful tool to help you tanking, and of course it'll be different for giant bosses, like if you're going to go into molten core. Okay, because they're going to be so big, you're not going to be able to see them. Okay, so hopefully spells here pulls aggro, and you can see this bar change. All right, and there we go. You see, it just turned red. He's pulled aggro, and of course, if it lived long enough, I'll be like, oh, I need a taunt. All right, so those are really and of course threat meter. Don't use the classic threat meter, of course. My guild is transitioned to threat classic 2. Classic threat meter is no longer being supported, no longer being updated. Threat classic 2 is the one that seems to be working more efficiently. Okay, it is actually being updated. So those are kind of the only add-ons that I would say. The rest is really purely cosmetic, and for you. I like to use a bunch of other add-ons just to help me navigate the world, know how certain items are cost. Like auctioneer, things like that, just to tell me like, oh, okay, I can sell this for 15 gold. Well, it's not going to give you, it's just random and stuff. If you want to get into more detail as far as the add-ons that I use specifically, get a hold of me after we're done with this dungeon, and we'll get into more detail, and I'll give you that information, no problem. Okay, so we're gonna go over a few things for tanking. Okay, that I do realize that especially a lot of the newer tanks are not aware of. And I'm gonna give hold on. I'm gonna let my party know I'm gonna give them party lead. Hey, Malefactor, I give you party lead. Can you invite Fastest when he's ready?
Yeah,
Okay,
like
okay. So a few things to note. Okay, so for one, it's going to depend on what spec you are and what kind of tank you are. All right, playstyle is always going to be different, but getting into the right mindset as a tank is going to be super important. All right, what's the role of a tank? Okay, the role of a tank is to make sure things are beating you, and make sure it's on you at all times. That way you can allow the other members of your party to function in their roles. And of course, we have DPSers, we have healers. So making sure, as long as everything is attacking you, that is your function. If you lose aggro on something, that is your responsibility, and it is your role to go pick it up. And sometimes and we're going to show you different scenarios in this dungeon as we go along to show you, like, okay, because sometimes when you play in a pug, they don't play nice, and they go balls to the wall and they go all out, and it's going to be rough on trying to pull aggro. I'm going to show you the things that I do, the mindset that I have, and as far as the actions that I take to try to pull aggro and keep aggro. Okay, and that's going to be as far as one, making sure you're knowledgeable as far as the dungeon that you're running or raid. Okay, knowledgeable on each and every pull. If you're unaware or if you need some help, you can either ask me, and I can kind of, you know, if I remember, I can kind of help you and guide you and tell you like how things should behave, or you can ask the guild, or a guild that you're in, okay, and someone should be able to help you. Like for one, for a good example is the Molten Destroyers in Molten Core, right? Molten Destroyers are the big giants, right? They're different from the regular Molten Giants only because the Destroyers will stun the tank. So usually a tank will pull, get like maybe like one sunder if they can, and then they will get stunned for like 3 seconds. Well, if DPS don't know that and you are stunned, you're not gaining threat, right? So there's going to be instances where you're going to be knowledgeable and you're just going to need to tell everyone, all right, I'm going to get stunned. Let me build some threat. Give me a little longer, because you know this mob right here is going to hurt and it's going to be hard for me to hold threat. Okay, so having that knowledge in advance, super important. And you know, we'll do our best to kind of guide everyone as far as what we're going to be doing in this dungeon. All right, so going over on the spec that I'm going to use, I'm using a Fury Protection build. I'm not going to be using a shield. I'll probably be using the shield once towards the end of the dungeon, but not for the majority of the dungeon. I'll kind of tell you why, right? This spec is primarily a threat generation build, okay? And I recruited from Big Brains, my guild. We have a really amazing healer, Mortana. Also some amazing DPS here. We got Fastest, who's going to be DPSing. He's a Shaman. Eatmyspells, who's a Mage. And Malefactor is a Warlock as well. So we've got some heavy, hard-hitting people here. They all know their roles, and they all are aware that I'm going to ask them a few times to just demonstrate just going ham on something and what we're going to do. Okay, so going through the spec here, generally when we start this, we're going to go ahead and building up sunders. Okay, sunders are a vital, important role to a fury tank or any tank, because remember, not because it's only gonna give you it's generating a high amount of threat, but the fact that you're lowering the armor of the target is going to make your other spells hit that much harder, meaning more threat for you. Okay, remember, it's not going to be all about the damage that you do, it's going to be about the threat that you generate. I mean, damage is going to be an underlining factor, because the more damage that you do, the more threat you're going to do as well, right? So it's really going to depend on what kind of tank you are, whether you are deep prop build, or if you're doing like a impale arms and then protection build, or if you're like me, you're going to go fury prop build. Okay, and like I said before, this build that I'm going is going to be focusing on more of the threat building side. All right, so it looks like we're all here, and we're waiting for Fastest, and that's fine. So one thing to note as well, macros. Okay, macros are going to be super important, and I highly suggest, if you're not familiar with macros, I'm going to show you some of the macros that I use, and if you need help with additional macros, get a hold of me after this, and I can get in more detail and actually just give you macros, the ones that I'm using. But some of the macros that I use that are going to be super important: charge macros. I like to build everything with start attack, because remember, you're going to generate most of your raid or your rage with auto attacks. Okay, so it's going to be a combination of the auto attacks that you do, a combination of the skills that you use, like blood rage, even berserker stance. Okay, and that's why also too, one of the macros that I have, berserker rage. Berserker rage is gonna, this macro start attack will also throw me into berserker rage, and also cast berserker stance, and also cast berserker rage for me. But remember, and this is where it's going to get tricky, and that's why I highly suggest macros, because now you're going to have to stance dance. Okay, if you're going to use this tactic, you're going to hear stance dancing. Stance dancing is super important. Stance dancing is going to allow you to swap over depending on which skill you want to use, because certain skills can only be used either in battle stance, berserker stance, or defensive stance, right? But building it into your macros will allow it to stance dance for you, instead of actually physically going over, clicking, oh, I'm going to go defensive stance, I'm going to go into berserker stance. It's going to do that for you. Okay, and a little kind of a demonstration, like here, You know, if I ever want to do Berserker Rage, this macro will do it for me. I'll go Berserker Rage. I know that my number 2 is my Sunder Armor, and I built in that my Sunder Armor will always put me in defensive stance. So I will immediately go into defensive stance while my Berserker Rage is up. I'll still be getting additional threat, or I'll be still building additional rage while being able to maintain my threat mitigation into defensive stance. So some other key macros that I use, if you ever want to execute as a Fury Prot, execute as well. Start attack with swap over to Berserker stance. Okay, Heroic Strike, super important. Like I say, I always will, if even if you're not going to do something special with that macro, even building in that start attack macro, super huge. Because remember, if a target dies and you swap a target, if you don't have the rage, you're not going to automatically attack. Okay, that means you're not building rage. You only build rage off of what's hitting you, and you want to make sure you're always building rage with your auto attack, especially as a Fury Prot warrior. Okay, other macros, my taunt. I have a mouse over taunt macro, and if I'm not mousing over, it'll just taunt my target. Okay, other things that are super important, like for me, I have an equip shield macro, super easy. It just says equip whatever the shield that I'm at, and since I am a fury protection tank, I have one as well where it's right next to each other, where it'll equip my Dalrin's Tribal Guardian as well if I want to go back and forth between shield and my offhand weapon. Okay, there's a bunch of other macros that we'll go into if you want to get into that. Like I said, get with me after this, and then we'll go into more detail as far as the macros that I use, and I'll actually just give you the macros that I have. There are other macros that you can get more intricate with. I like to keep my macros basic, as you can see. It'll just say equip / whatever / cast. Right, there are more intricate macros that you can use. Okay, so that's kind of about it. We touched base on the add-ons. We touched base on some macros. We're going to get into it. We're going to start doing some pulls here, and we're going to kind of keep mindset as far as what we're going to do. Now, my suggestion is, even for these for any pull that you're about to do, I would always suggest, and they're going to Leroy. I always suggest open up with a charge. Okay, open up with a charge because it's going to generate some extra threat, and a lot of people forget to do this, but I would always suggest opening up with a charge and using a thunderclap and then demoralizing shout before swapping into your defensive stance. And you're going to see that we're going to macro, we're going to be able to thunderclap, demo shout, just to give you that initial threat burst, because you want everything to attack you, and then and that way you can generate some rage. So here we go, and let's do it again. So a little quick also tip here, because these guys have we have some casters here. Okay, and to be able to pull threat off these casters, as long as it's attacking you, and if you want them to stop, I'm gonna pass on everything. If you want them to stop casting, the closer you get to a lot of these, as long as you have macro on them, and the closer that you get to them, it'll force them to run to you instead of casting. Okay, so make sure you're doing that and being able to identify that. That's why I don't usually like to charge the casters, and we'll do it here. I'm gonna charge in right here. I know I have a caster there, and let's see. So we already. So you're gonna find this a lot in a lot of instances where you're gonna see them. They're gonna pull, and you can't get around that. So what are you gonna do? Don't get discouraged. All you need to do is focus on priorities, and my priority is right now getting those elites. After those elites, getting these casters off my healer, because your healer is already gonna pull. You know your healer is gonna pull aggro. Okay, a little trick on when swapping targets. As you can see, I'm not going to click. I'm not gonna click and try to target people. I am tab targeting, and tab targeting is super useful. The trick to kind of tab target is to kind of, and we're gonna do the same thing. Thunderclap. We're gonna demo shout, and the quick to tab targeting is if you want to tab target this, point at it. Point your camera towards it before you can before you actually hit tab. Usually, the way the game is built in, it'll prioritize everything that's in front of you. So make sure if you notice that there's a elite that's beating someone, or one of your casters is going over, instead of like going over here and then trying to find your mouse and then clicking on your target, simply just move your camera, point to him, tab target, and it should prioritize everything that's in front of you, and it makes it so much easier that way. And so my group right now is behaving like what a regular pug would do, okay? Meaning if you're lagging, they're gonna pull. And that's fine, you know. We're don't get discouraged. Remember, if they're gonna pull, a lot of the tanks are gonna have the mentality that, you know what, if you pull, you tank. If you pull aggro, you tank it. When I get frustrated, sometimes, I'll get to that point. But really speaking, is it a good idea to be able to do that? Not necessarily. You're gonna get a bad reputation for yourself, and you see here, a bad reputation for yourself, and as far as a bad reputation for your guild as well, as far as being a bad tank. Okay. As far as you and what you really should do here, don't focus on any one target. You want to focus on swapping targets, hitting your tab button, and kind of building your aggros on everything. Okay, right now we're focusing on really on kind of like a pug group. There's no markings. Okay, everything is not organized. Okay, and that's why I suggest to using marked targets. Okay, one of the things that I try to put in these macros is making sure I mark my targets. There's a way to be able to keybind them, or you can be like me and you can just set a macro with it. /TM means target marker. 3 is for diamond, and it goes from 1 to 8. You can do it yourself, right? /TM 1 through 8 will give you a different marker target, or you can just get in touch with me and I'll be able to tell you, and I'll just be able to tell you after that. I'll tell you which ones do what, and I got feared. And okay, we're good. Okay, so with something like this here, it's going to be hard to pull aggro, and of course with my build, I don't have the improved taunt build, so it's really going to be up to you to try to either pull it or taunt it. And as you saw, I did taunt it. I got feared. I lost aggro again, and my taunt was on cooldown. For all of you guys who are doing like a deep prop build, you guys are going to be going more into the reduced taunting, which is going to be useful, especially when you find yourself in situations like this. So make sure to use your taunt. Me, I don't have my taunt on here. It is key bound to my alt 1. As you can see here, these guys are pulling like crazy, which is fine. It's just fine. We'll and as you can see here, to be able to swap, I just swapped over. I faced my target and I hit my tab, and that way it won't prioritize targeting one of these casters. Instead, it prioritizes targeting what's in front of me. All right, and that's super good, super useful. And of course, I lost it right there. Remember that it turned red, so now it told me I lost aggro. I'm gonna go ahead and taunt. Okay, as long as you have aggro, that allows my healer, allows my DPS to be able to fulfill their role. I saw my HP going down a little bit. I remember with this build, I don't have any defensives. I don't have shield wall, which I could use my shield wall, but we'll probably use shield wall a little later on when I'll just have to equip a shield. All right, boys and girls. And Voodoo, I appreciate that. I appreciate the the cheer. Right, Baron mount drops. Right, that'd be crazy. And we got in combat. That kind of sucks. So what I did there was, I wasn't in a position to be able to charge. My group went ahead and went before me. So what I did there is I put a sunder target on 1, and then I taunted my sunder or my second target. Okay, so don't worry about. Remember, use your taunts when necessary. Okay, as long as the target's hitting you, you're doing good. Okay, and then after that, after I get initial target, it's hitting me, I'm generating a little more rage. Now I know that I can go ahead and start building threat. Now remember, the way taunt works is, right, okay, threat is going to be expressed as a numerical value, as you can see here on the threat meter. Okay, the way your taunt works is once you taunt once you taunt something, okay, it's gonna automatically put you either at the same threat as the highest person or a little above. Okay, and so that means if you taunt and then swap for that was it sorry, not 6 seconds, for that like 3 seconds that taunt is active, you are good. For one, you're gonna have threat, right, but you're not building threat, so it's gonna be up to you to and know that if you're tanking something and you have 2 targets and okay, it's gonna get a little hectic here. So I'm gonna try my best to build threat on one, and I realize I lost something. As long as I can pull this, I'm gonna taunt the other. Now I have threat on the other one. I'm not gonna worry about this one because it's ranged and I don't want to get too close, but at least now I know I have threat on these two. We're pulling another gargoyle and we have another gargoyle right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna taunt. And I'm going to build some threat here, but I'm going to go back and make sure. And I see we're hurting, so I'm going to go ahead and throw in a challenging shout. And then I'm going to start building threat on everything. Now that I have it, I'm going to go ahead and pot. And we're just going to tab target, build threat and everything, making sure you maintain threat. As you can see, DPS is still topped off in HP. My healer's doing what she's supposed to do, and my DPSer is doing what they can do as far as DPS. I'm fulfilling my role. Don't get discouraged, especially when you lose threat. Do whatever you can. Remember, you have options. And even also, too, if you are spec into arms, and this is super strong, having tactical mastery. I always suggest people to have tactical mastery if you're going the deep prot build, only because that allows you to swap over stances and still maintain most of that rage. Okay, not all of it, because 5 points will be able to hold. You'll be able to hold. You'll be able to hold. You'll be able to hold on to at least 25 rage, right? But also too, if you're stancing and you're swapping targets, it'll allow you to mocking blow right away, because mocking blow costs 10 rage. I don't have tactical mastery. That way, if I ever want to taunt using, say, my taunt's on cooldown, say that my challenging shot's on cooldown, we'll have one more option: mocking blow. Mocking blow is going to be rough, because mocking blow is, it requires 10 rage, and for me, if I want to taunt, well, my mocking blow, if I swap here, now I can't mocking blow. I've lost all my rage. I have to be able to build everything, and it's just not gonna be effective, right? So if you're running a Fury prot build without tactical mastery, you're gonna have to do your best to kind of have a little foresight, know when you're gonna have to need mocking blow, because you're gonna need to swap over, and at the same time you're gonna need to make sure you build that threat before you actually cast mocking blow, before going back to your defensive stance. Okay, and so right now, it's all about just pulling aggro, and these guys are going ham. That's fine. Like I said, this is not a traditional way, because we're not using symbols. Okay, probably a little further down towards the end, I'll talk to these guys and we'll start using symbols. I want them to go kind of ham right now, because this is going to give you the illusion that this is a pug run, and you're going to kind of need to know what you're going to do. Okay, so remember, again, if you can, remember, there's going to be instances where you can't get that charge in. Always try to hit that charge in, always try to get that demo shout in, then before swapping into your defensive stance. But primarily, if you can't get that charge in, which is fine, get that taunt in. Try not to work that. Only use that taunt if you're only use that taunt if you lose aggro. Okay, a lot of tanks out there is going to build that taunt into the rotation. Not good. So once you get your 5 sunders in, Once you get your 5 cinders in the Fury prop build, you're gonna prioritize for one heroic strike and revenge. If you notice that you're able to gain rage, um, you're able to gain that rage enough. We're gonna go to charges. It's all good. If you're able to generate the rage needed after building your 5 sunders, then you can go ahead and prioritize using both sunder and heroic strike. Okay, so that way you can maximize the amount of threat you're building as well. And here you can't do anything on this boss when you get this encasing webs. You will lose aggro. So and you just go over, taunt it, build threat again, and of course max out your sunder armor, and then continue with your rotation. All right, so making sure you just you're fulfilling your role to your best of your ability, making sure they're beating you, and you'll do a good job as far as, for one, making a good name for yourself, and as far as making a good name for your guild, and that's one of the most important things as well. All right, now usually on bosses, I do tend to tank a little differently. Sometimes I will go straight into, instead of the charge and sorry, we have to go into the ziggurat as well. Instead of the charge and thunderclap, I usually would just get that charge in, get a demo shout up, just to at least mitigate a little damage. If you're taking, if they're gonna hit really hard, and then go straight into sundering armor, and that way you can prioritize sundering armor, and then going into your revenge, heroic striking, shield slamming if you have shield slam, because remember, shield slam is also going to provide shield slam will benefit from your sunder armor, since shield slam does do a little damage as well. So and it does an insane amount of threat as well. So you can start prioritizing that, and then casting your heroic strike, which is going to give you a little more attack, a little more damage, and also remember, a high amount of threat as well. Okay, so of course they pulled, which is fine, and as you can see, we've pulled, they pulled threat, so we're gonna build on one, and then we taunted one, we built on one, and now we're gonna try to pull it back, and we got it back, and we're gonna build on the other and kind of go back and forth here, trying to maintain our threat. Okay, so sometimes it will take a little, especially if your DPS do tend to pull first, which will happen the majority of the time. Don't think it's not going to happen. It will happen. Okay, it will happen, and and it's going to be up to you to kind of combat that. What I did there, I taunted, build threat on the second target, because I knew it's going to die really quick. On targets that you're going to die really quick, a single taunt just to have it attack you instead of your group, and then building threat on the target that they're not attacking is super useful as well. Especially, it's like I said, it's going to be up to you, and having knowledge on mobs as far as knowing like how everything is going to die. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do my best here on just, because this is everything right here is everywhere, and I don't have the rage. Everything is not attacking me, but we're gonna do our best. I'm gonna taunt that. We're gonna build here because I do have threat on the Banshee at least. Okay, and usually on these targets that are casting, even though you might have threat, I have threat on this guy, but they're casting something. You won't see that they're not going to attack you. They won't attack you until after they finish their cast. Okay, so recognizing that you have the highest threat, and if they're casting something on a different target, I'm not prioritizing interrupting, because since I don't have a shield, I can't shield bash. My only taunt would be pummel, but that requires me to go into berserker stance, and of course, since I don't have tackle mastery with this spec, I'm gonna lose all my rage. I won't be able to get that intercept right away. And of course, I just failed because I totally forgot this one was over here. Completely my fault. And that's going to be up to you and the tank. And that's why it's super useful to keep your enemy nameplates up and kind of be mindful of your surroundings as well. Because a lot of the times, your targets are going to run away from you, and it's going to be up to you. It's going to be a hassle, but you know you can push through it, and you can and it's but the thing is I think the challenge is going to be is if you are snared or slowed for any reason, that's always going to be painful for any tank, and it happens all the time. But push through it, you know, just do your best to try to maintain your threat, and try to pick up anything that you lose, any loose targets. Okay. And remember, these guys will fear. So also too, one thing to do, I can do this. Try to pull threat real quick, and I'll go into the time, put one Sunder Armor, swap to Berserker stance. Now I'm immune to that. See, we just immune that fear, but that's fine. We saw that one of our DPS was not immune, so but that allowed us right there to immune the fear, but go back into the defensive stance because we knew that fear was going to happen. And remember, your Berserker rage is going to last for 10 seconds. So if you're combating some of these guys, knowing beforehand, knowing what they're going to do, and trying to plan ahead will help you as far as do this a lot better, because that would have been sucked if I got feared and pulled and not be able to pull target, pull aggro. Okay, but that's fine. These guys are all pros. They know what they're doing. But hopefully you can see that the power of macroing, that way it swapped for me. I don't have to click over to Berserker stance, hit my Berserker rage, and then go click over to protection stance myself, defensive stance myself. My macro did everything for me. All right, boys and girls. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do this. It looks like everyone's good to go, and we're just gonna go ahead and charge. Remember, this person does fear, and it's gonna be something that we can't or not fear, but mind control. We can't do anything about that. You know, all we can do, build as much aggro, build as much threat as we can. We've maxed out our Sunders. I'm gonna prioritize. Okay, so we got the mind control. And one thing too, I want to share with you, especially for my warriors out there, and my dual wielding warriors, and this is also for Fury DPS warriors and Fury tank warriors as well. We're gonna make sure we don't kill fastest here. I'm gonna share with you after this boss, okay? And this is why I always tell everyone, and I prioritize heroic strike over any dual wielder, right? Prioritizing heroic strike is super important, because there is a known bug that Blizzard knows. It was found back in the day. No one realized it back in vanilla, but they did realize it back after I think Burning Crusade came out. Okay, and I'm going to share this tidbit of information with you. I'm going to link something in Twitch chat for you guys to take a read, and we'll read it together. Okay, there you go. That's the link. So check it out. And this is a Reddit post. Okay, it's entitled 3 months ago, because apparently, you know, a lot of people don't know about this. But it says, "Careful, not a meme. How Classic changed the warrior gameplay completely." Okay, so this is some useful information. It says, assuming you're playing fitting race for the weapon, right, and that means making sure that you are capped out, right, you're hit capped. So it says if you have heroic strike queued up, your offhand gains the yellow hit multiplier. Okay, what that means is yellow hit, if you are spell hit, meaning spell hit is 9% if you're not an orc, 6% if you're an orc and you are using an axes. Okay, that is what the yellow hit multiplier means. Okay, so meaning if you are queuing up your heroic strike, this also works with your cleave as well. It's either heroic strike or cleave. As long as that is queued, your offhand weapon will never miss. Okay, never miss. Okay, super important for everyone to know, and it's a bit of information that, you know, I've been slowly telling the warriors in my guild, because not everyone knows about that, and this is why a lot of warriors should always queue up your heroic strike. And that's why, as a Fury prot warrior, once you build up your Sunder Armor, that's why you should always prioritize spamming and keeping your heroic strike queued. Because imagine that your offhand now, instead of your offhand, because you're, what is it, 50% missing off your offhand. 50% damage reduction, of course, as well. But if you have your heroic strike or your cleave queued, guess what? You are never gonna miss on white hand. Your white damage. That is your auto attacks. Okay, super useful, super important, and that means more damage. As a Fury Prot tank, that means more damage, more threat. Importantly, okay, and that's gonna allow you to be able to build that threat, hold that threat, and be able to help you learn your role a lot better. And remember too, that also works as a great function for you DPS warriors as well. If you are DPS Fury tanking, guess what? This is how you get your damage higher. Okay, this is how you get your damage higher. Really. Because most of our damage, if you guys are using details, and you guys should always use details, right? If you guys are using details, you guys can see, you guys will be able to see that your most of your damage comes from your auto attacks. Am I right, boys and girls? Right? Auto attacks is most of your damage. So as long as you can keep your auto attacks going, so if queuing up your heroic strikes is going to help you increase that auto attack damage, and all the more increase your role as a DPS, as a Fury warrior, if you're dual hand Fury. So make sure you guys keep that in mind, so that way you can fulfill your role to the most of your ability. And it's not about bragging rights. I mean, there's going to be a sense of pride to see your name up there as #1, but it's really not for bragging rights. It's as far as you fulfill your role to the best of your ability to help your guild fulfill whatever rating goals or whatever goals that they have as a guild. And as long as you can do your role, whether you're tanking, whether you're healing, whether you're DPSing, do it to the best of your ability, all right, boys and girls? And that's what it's all about, really. All right. Take your time, read that. It's really great. And remember, this was a bug that was found out way back in the day when the second expansion came out. Okay, but also too, Blizzard knows about it. It's been brought to Blizzard's attention. They know about this, and they won't do anything about it. Okay, it's something that they don't want to address. They feel like that WoW is already on their 8th expansion or whatever. They don't feel like that it's necessary to go back and recode everything just to change something that's been out for already 15 years. They're not gonna touch it. It's always gonna be there. So take advantage of it when you can, you know. Okay. So we're getting to the point where we're towards the end here. As you can see here, I'm kind of absent-minded a lot because I'm talking to you guys. I'm trying to get some information out to you guys, and also too, I'm trying to tank as well. So I'm losing a lot of aggro, but we're still picking it up. We're doing our best. We're probably after this boss, I'm gonna talk to my party. We're gonna change it up. We're gonna start using some marks so you can kind of see. It's gonna get a lot more. I guess organized as far as what they're attacking, who they're attacking, where the aggro is going to go, and it's going to be a lot better. And for this I'm going to let them pull. In situations like this, it's not bad to let it pull. We see a mob there. Say we're and okay, we're gonna go in because now one of our DPS winning. But letting your DPS go ahead and tank a ranged target that's not gonna pull, it's fine. If they went ahead and pulled in that situation, you can let them tank it, because for one, you don't want to pull in any additional mobs. You can just go ahead and let your ranged DPS go ahead and pull for now, and we can concentrate on other stuff as far as making sure if they do pull an additional attack, just get ready to pick it up. And we're going to go ahead and pull this. And I'm going to go ahead and taunt that, and then get aggro on that. Then I'm going to build aggro like this again, and I lost it already, but it's fine. We got it back. Go build aggro on the second. That one's about to die. I'm just going to let it die. I'm not going to go back to it, okay? So recognizing, as long as you have aggro on one, yeah, just swap over. Let it die. No need to waste your rage on something that you already have. Start building your rage on other targets. Prioritizing where you throw your rage is going to be super important. And for me, remember, Fury protection builds. I am Fury, so I have improved battle shout. So making sure I constantly have this battle shout up is going to be super important. All right. So we'll keep this pace up. As far as letting them pull, and I'll go ahead. Just charge in whenever I can, pick up aggro. And of course I've lost it because, for one, these stupid enveloping webs happens all the time. You'll eventually lose aggro. Usually when a target does immobilize you, they will have an aggro swap mechanic. It happens a lot. Don't be scared. Push through it. All right. In this, I'm gonna prioritize the. I'm not gonna get that. I'm gonna prioritize these the elite ones right here. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna demo shout, and then I'm gonna swap over, and then I have initial aggro on those. I am gonna taunt that. I'm gonna bring these back, and I realize that now we have a gargoyle. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna go with the berserker stance. I have berserker stance up. Go back to the protection stance. We're gonna continue here, and we're gonna try and we're gonna get another one. Now it's getting hairy. I do realize we have a ranged DPS, range 1, and our berserker stance fell off. Okay, making sure we at least get aggro on these, and then we're gonna try and build aggro. I have a bunch of rage, so I'm gonna spam sunder armor and fear and heroic strike at the same time to build as much threat as possible. There we go. We did pull the last the other ranged DPS, so we're good. So don't get scared. And remember, those of you who like puzzles, and that's why I like tanking. I think of tanking as a big puzzle. I'm a big puzzle kind of guy. That way, when things like that happen, and targets are spread apart from each other, and you got each target targeting different people. Well, it's going to be up to you to kind of find a solution to try to how are you going to pull threat. Either one pulling threat, either single targeting. A combination of your taunts, your challenging shout. I try to save my challenging shout just in case. That way we can make sure I use it in really hairy situations. Okay, but other than that, everything else, I try to just really do my best to pull aggro. Using single target, maybe just spamming thunders. And right now I'm not generating any rage, so I'm not going to spam heroic strike, which is fine. It's going to be enough that you're spamming thunders, prioritizing your revenge whenever it comes up, and then once you stack your thunders, prioritizing your heroic strike. And remember, it's all about prioritizing your skills, because one of the things too about prioritizing your skills, that's pretty much how a warrior, you're going to find that you're going to do with all the warrior builds. Okay, if you're playing Fury, you're prioritizing your skills. Okay, making sure that you prioritize certain skills to be able to give you the maximum amount. And as you can see here, okay, we pulled aggro. I'm gonna taunt that one, and then I'm gonna swap to this other one. This one's gonna die. I'm gonna let it go and die. I'm not gonna do anything with that, but we're gonna do that. We did lose aggro on one. As you can see, it turned red. Even though they're stacked up, you can still see if you're losing aggro, which is so useful for this. You can see that you're losing aggro, even though that they're stacked up, and it's gonna be hard to distinguish the bigger bars. Okay, guys. All right. So we're gonna go back, and we're gonna kill this boss. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing. Remember, this is a pug. They, we're not communicating. They don't care. They just want to get through as fast as possible. But as you can see, they're manaing up. So this is going to be a good one. So for these ones, I just charge, man. I don't really, as long as you're level 60, you're not going to pull these. So we're just going to charge. We're going to pull some. We're going to do our best. We're going to go and do that. And look, I see there. I recognize we have a gargoyle. We're gonna go ahead and do that. In this instance, I would usually just swap over and berserker stance, but the fact that I am not ready because I don't have the rage to be able to do that. Instead, we're gonna go ahead and taunt the main boss, okay, and see and that's going to go ahead and die. Prioritizing the fact that, you know, we did get feared. Taunting the boss is going to be the most important thing. Making sure that you at least know that the boss here is going to be the biggest threat. Yeah, it is a Screecher. It did fear us, but it's not going to do as much damage as the boss. If you know that your taunt is off cooldown, if you know that you're, for one, you don't have tactical mastery, you can't get the mocking blow off, you can't get anything else off, you know, prioritize as far as what's going to minimize the damage that your party is going to take. Okay, and that's going to be important part. Let's see here, we have some insects. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk to my party real quick. We're going to change it up, and we're going to try to put some marks on our target. So 1 second, everybody. All right, guys.
It's not even.
I'm glad you guys are just going ham. So perfect. Now, Fastest, can you change roles? And what we're gonna do is, can you mark everything? You know, just how we usually do, and that way we can kind of, you know, more uniformed and more, I guess, controlled setting. So that way, you know, people can see, you know, the difference between hectic and, you know.
You want me to change roles and do what?
No. Kind of change mindsets instead of going ham on everything. We're gonna start marking everything. So can you mark everything for me while I kind of narrate?
Sure.
Okay.
Turn down the chaos. Got it.
Thank you. All right. So now everything's gonna be marked. Everything should be traditional. Everyone should know what they're gonna be attacking, which is gonna be really, really useful. Instead of doing that first, we're gonna do this. We're gonna pull this one first. We're gonna kill that eye. I'm gonna pull this, and we're just gonna LOS over here, which is fine. And we Irk Shop, that's fine, and we're going to pull another target, which is cool. We're going to go defensive stance, pop our Blood Rage, and we're going to taunt, and that's going to die. We taunted it, and we're just going to go ahead and continue on this Crypt Beast, okay? Knowing what your spells do, and knowing the fact that if something is going to die, remember, even throwing a taunt up when it's not on you, and then just focusing on something that has the max HP, okay? That's going to be super, super useful, all right? All right, so, looks like we're gonna get this target, and okay, we pulled that target instead. It's gonna be rough, but that's fine. We're gonna go in here, and so I'm still gonna thunderclap. But you know what? I'm gonna do that, and you see what I did there? I saw that there was a sheep here, and so what I did, I backed up. I backed up just a little bit, and just enough to be able to get my thunderclap off without breaking that sheep. Okay, and that's still gonna allow me at least on all the targets other than the sheep. To be able to get that initial threat, and then swap over to my defensive staff to start spamming my sunders, to start tab targeting, get my sunders up. Okay, so knowing the capabilities of your skills, knowing the range of your skills is going to be super, super important. So with Thunderclap, so check it out. So Thunderclap, it doesn't tell you as far as the range. It does cost 20 range, lasts about 20 seconds, and it's 10%, right? So it doesn't give you a range, but you know it hits for 4 targets. And so as long as you can kind of eyeball it and make sure that you're far enough away from your target to cast your Thunderclap. Okay, so now we're going to go. Everything's going to be a little more controlled. I'm going to charge in, get that in. I'm going to go ahead and Blood Rage, and everyone should be targeting. And so this is what I like to do, okay? So as you can see there, I got one Sunder off, and then I prioritize getting Sunders on the rest, okay? And which is good. And that way, because if you know that the skull, you're going to lose your target, you should know that you're going to burn a taunt, okay? Automatically know if you're going to swap targets with a pack of 3 here, you're going to burn a taunt. At least you're prioritizing not losing the other 2 targets. You're going to at least burn, you're going to build aggro on your other 2, and that way you can go ahead and just burn 1 cooldown instead of worrying about focusing everything on your main target, which is Skull, and then losing the other 2. And that's what usually always happens, right? We lose target on, we lose our threat on the other ones. So doing it that way is a lot beneficial because you're burning 1 cooldown. You're only using your 1 taunt. Okay, that's super, super important. And I'm just gonna wait here and hold on. We're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna let this go. We're gonna let our range DPS handle this. Remember, it's not important. It's not super important to go out there, knowing the fact that going out there and you may pull other mobs, especially since you're not clearing everything. Just let them go ahead and do that. Because if you go ahead and do, if you actually sit, you're gonna make it a lot difficult for your party if you go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna go ahead here and just gonna wait. And I'm gonna pull a taunt. There we go. It's close enough. So let him go ham. It's fine. There's nothing that we can do. Now we lost aggro. I already burned my taunt. You know, it kind of sucks. I can go to my Mocking Blow if I wanted to, but we're just gonna go ahead and let it go. Okay, and we're gonna do this. But first of all, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna. This is what I like to do as well. Okay, so sometimes I won't charge, right? And what I'll do, I'll pull here, and I'll pull it back. I'll LOS. Usually I'll have my Blood Rage, because if my Blood Rage, I'll still be able to cast my Thunderclap, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And we don't need to do that. Okay. So and it's good. See, we have a priest, and she's such a good priest. She went ahead and shackled the target, and now we only have this handle 2. But usually on that one, I would have my Blood Rage around the corner. That way, instantly when they come to us, we're gonna go ahead and we'll be able to go ahead and get that Thunderclap off, that demo shot off, and then go back into our defensive stance and tab targeting, swapping Sunder Armors. All right. We're almost to the end here, which is good, because one of the things that I do want to make perfectly clear, now there's gonna be a difference between how you're gonna tank versus dungeons, and as far as dungeons versus like raids, because one of the biggest things that, yeah, they're gonna hit harder in the raids, but also too, they are did we not kill? Oh, we did not kill. We didn't kill one of these reds. So, anyways, the size of the mob, and this is why we chose Strath Undead for this particular warrior workshop, is because one of the things that a lot of people we need to do is get accustomed to tanking where you can't see the boss's bar. Okay, you're gonna go primarily on your target, and we're gonna let that go a little bit, and we're gonna taunt, and then go to our X build, and we're gonna build, and we're just gonna let that go. It's gonna die, and we're gonna focus on this X. Okay. All right. So, being able to tank a boss that you can't see the target. I'm sorry. I got a. There we go. It's an alarm. Okay. Knowing how to tank a certain boss that's way above, that fills up your whole screen, is going to be super important, because there's going to be certain cases, and I'll show you, where you are backed up against a wall. You've got a huge mob in front of you, and we'll make sure everyone has mana. You've got a huge mob in front of you, and that way, and we're going to go ahead and go. Huge mob in front of you, and there's nothing that you can do as far as placement to be able to help you, see what's going on. Okay, it's just gonna be super hard. And as you can see, I have a lot of aggro, or a lot of rage, so we're gonna spam both Sunder Armor and Heroic Strike, keeping up our Heroic Strike and making sure our offhand doesn't miss. But now that we're low on rage, we're gonna prioritize just spamming Revenge and Heroic Strike. Okay, so remember, going back and forth between knowing to spam both Sunder Armor and Heroic Strike for a lot of you is going to be Shield Slam, okay, instead of Sunder Armor. And really, once you stack your Sunder Armor, you're only going to hit Sunder Armor. You're only hitting Sunder Armor to reapply your Sunder stacks. Okay, you don't want to have to rebuild your Sunder Armors from one, because remember, 5 Sunder Armors is going to give you the maximum armor debuff to be able to allow your other spells and skills to be able to hit harder. Okay, so just refresh it every once in a while. If the other tanks or the other warriors in your group are not refreshing it, just spam it every once in a while. Refresh it, and then continue on spamming your aggro generating abilities. And we're gonna have to go back. We're gonna have to go back here, and we're gonna have to kill one of these ziggurats because we forgot, which is fine. Okay. So we're gonna be so what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna come up to the abominations. Okay, these abominations are the giant, kind of like the giant bosses. Okay, and we're gonna go through, as far as they're gonna be big. We're gonna be fighting in a confined space, and there's a few things that we should do. If you haven't done it, and if you haven't noticed, as you can see here, I have target up. Okay, this is gonna be super important, because now we can't rely on our bars, we can't rely on our add-ons, we can't rely on that to see if we have threat or threat or not. We're gonna have to be able to see targeting using our target of target, and seeing what your target is targeting as far as if you're going to lose aggro or not. Okay, and that's how we're going to primarily be tanking. But there are certain tricks to be able, and I will kind of go through that once we get in here, as far as positioning wise and knowing what you're, how to be able to tank giant bosses or giant, giant things. Okay, we're gonna kind of wait, and I think we've got someone AFK. Okay, we'll wait until they get in here. Eatmyspells is AFK. That's fine. So primarily, if you guys don't know where the target of target is located at, you're gonna go into your, I believe it's your settings, and then you're gonna go nameplate, I believe, and target of target is right. Hold on, enemy plates, friendly players. No. It is not there. It is. Hold on, I'll find it. I swear I know where it's at. Not action bars, not social display. Show target of target. Where is that? Dang it. Hold on. There we go. Combat right here. Show target of target. Make sure this is checked. Make sure your target of target is checked. Super important. And this is not an additional add-on. It is built into the Blizzard regular UI. So a little bonus and a little plus for you guys. I think Eatmyspells will wait for you. Oh, he's back. All right, here we go, boys and girls. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take this giant boss now. All right, so we're gonna pull the first one, and I realize I'm running out. Here we go. So with these, I usually just stay. Since I'm doing this, I stay in defensive stance, and once it gets to me, I pull, and I like to back up here, and of course, fastest is pulled. As you can see right here, target of target. This is what you're paying attention to, right? Okay, and a little trick here, especially when you get into raiding. Those of you who have yet to get into raiding and you're watching, a little trick to be able to do if you back up against a wall, to be able to still see what's going on, because sometimes there's a lot of paths going on, and you have to be really mindful if you have to pick something else that's like, that's lurking behind your raid or behind your group. So we're gonna wait for this one. This one's coming. So is once you back it up and you have the boss right here, what you can do is just turn your camera around. Okay, turn your camera around, and that way you'll be able to see what your party is. Adjust it. You can pull your camera distance a little farther out using the max camera distance. There is a macro here, and they pull. That's fine. We're going to taunt, and we're gonna. And remember with that taunt, okay, it's gonna pull based off of who has threat. So, and that's why I saw that Frostbolt. I know he's gonna have more threat than me. So I held off on my Sunder Armor. Instead, I went ahead and taunted before Sunder Armoring. That way you taunt, you reach up to his threat, then I'm gonna go ahead and Sunder Armor and start building on top of his threat. Okay, a little trick: instead of using your Sunder Armors before the threat, or before, use it after your taunt. That way it'll just help you pull up. And he's gonna pull. That's fine. That's what enhancement shamans do, right? That's what enhancement shamans do. And as you can see, it's super hard to hold. And that's why I wanted to show you guys. That's why I wanted to show you guys. Tanking with these different classes, because it gets super hard. Mages for AoE, enhancement shamans, single target. It's just that if they get one proc, one huge pull, there's just nothing you can do. In the beginning, if they get that lucky proc, they're gonna rip aggro off of you. There's nothing you can do. Just get ready for the taunt, and hopefully, you have your improved taunt, skill. If not, do what needs to be done. And I'll kind of show you what how with this spec, since I don't have tactical mastery, we're gonna kind of show you what I have to do if I have to mocking blow. Okay. And it's gonna get we're gonna pull this guy right here. Actually, nope. This guy. Yeah, no, we're gonna pull this guy. And no. I'm being iffy. Okay. We're gonna pull this guy. Okay. So we're gonna let them pull. I'm gonna do one Sunder only. We're gonna let them pull, and of course they're gonna pull. Okay, I'm gonna now I hit my taunt, and I'm gonna realize, like, oh crap, they're gonna pull again, and they're not gonna pull again. Dang it. Okay, no lucky crits. We're gonna do it on the next one. Okay, So here we go, and hope. So he pulled. I'm gonna taunt. I'm gonna get again, and I'm gonna realize that if you're gonna realize you're gonna lose spread again, you're gonna have to go into your early, then mocking blow, swap back to your defensive stance. So you're gonna have so if you're not dealing with if you're not dealing with your tactical mastery, there's going to be a little foresight built in as far as trying to be able to use your other spells. Okay, even with intercept as well. Okay, even with the intercept as well, you're gonna have to just know in advance, like, okay, I'm gonna intercept, or I'm gonna have to use my mocking blow. Okay, if that happens, switch in advance, auto attack a target, build up your rage, and then go into your your defensive stance build again, and try to just hold aggro, build in Sunder Armors. All right. Now we're gonna continue here. And like again, let me show you. Remember, most of the experienced tanks out there, most of our guild tanks already know how to do it. And they usually do it. So if you're facing and you can't see anything, and you still want to see what your target is doing, so just keep your back against the wall, looking at that target. Move your camera and go around. Use your max camera distance to be able to see what your group, your raid is doing. And there's a macro out there, and I'll get it to you afterwards. It's I think it's max /max camera distance, and I think it's 4 or something. I'll have to see. And I am super slow. This is gonna suck. I'm gonna have to taunt, and we got vials as well. And we'll do our best to try to hold that both of these. Okay. We're gonna build someone as well. Good to go. There we go. Really nothing you can do there. Your mage, especially if you have a mage and those slimes that are, it takes like 1 or 2 arcane explosions, they're gonna go ahead and just just let them handle it. They'll do their thing. They'll do mage stuff. All we can do our best is try to hold aggro on the super hard hitting ones. Do what you can. Increases your success rate of any dungeon or raid. Alright, boys and girls. And I see I dodged there, and I'm gonna go ahead and that's fine. I'm gonna taunt, and I'm gonna build aggro. I purposely didn't use my Sunder Armor because I saw that I dodged and I saw a slime. I'd rather build aggro as far as at least one Sunder Armor on a slime to hold aggro on that, and then wait for someone to build aggro and then taunt. That way you get their aggro, you replace their aggro, and then continue on Sunder Armoring, continue on building upon that threat. Sorry, hold on, Zapper. Sorry, we're trying to. I'm trying to do a tutorial here on tanking real quick. We'll do. Yeah, I'll get into Grand Summoners after this. All right, brother. All right, we'll continue pulling here. And as you can see, so he pulled. I'm gonna build up my rage a little bit. He went ahead and did that. It's my mage, and then there we go. We're gonna taunt, and then now we have the rage built up. And of course, he's gonna look at fastest because he's probably proccing like crazy. Okay, that's another trick you can do if you know that you're on a target that's slowed at least, and your mage or a ranged GPS is pulled aggro, and you can let him hold on to the aggro a little bit. Use your auto attack. Don't use any Sunder Armors. Don't use any skills. Just kind of build your threat when you can. Build your threat your rage. That way, after you taunt, you can go ahead and start pulling or start using your Sunder Armors to pull aggro. Okay, definitely helps out here. And these guys are gonna go ham. Oh no, we got it. That's fine. Okay, so we built our Sunder Armors. We can go ahead and just prioritize, and we're kind of low. And we got a second one. That's fine. I'll swap over. That one's about dead. I'm gonna ignore that one. There we go. It's gonna die. Keep building your aggro. I can go far as put a demo shadow, and that's fine. Sunder armors are stacked, continue prioritizing heroic strike, revenge, and really it's if I'm looking at around like 40, we're gonna need that because I need that for my chest plate. If I'm around like hovering around 40 rage, 40 to 50 rage, then I'm gonna go. Then I usually go ahead and swap over. We're gonna wait here. Taunt. And I'm getting parried. I'm dodging. Here we go. We're gonna taunt that one, and this is multiple slamming. There's nothing we can do. Well, hopefully it'll let our range GPS kill everything here. Here we go. All right. So we're gonna get to the point where our equip shield macro and our equip macros are gonna be super useful. So we're gonna let everyone max out. Oh, we pulled. That's fine. And we're gonna blood rage. I'm not gonna go into thunderclap. I'm just gonna go straight into sundering armor. There we go. And I got stunned. Nothing I can do. All I can do is taunt after this stun, and then continue on. Now we got our aggro back, and we're gonna see here. I have enough rage. We're gonna go ahead and queue a heroic strike, and we're gonna stun the armor as well. And we got stunned again. Nothing you can do. And then we're gonna taunt right away, and then. All right. So knowing your knowing what you can do, and knowing what you're capable of is gonna be huge. Okay. And you know there are certain instances there. You know you get stunned, you get rooted. There's nothing you can do. Do what you can, and yeah. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna stay in. Oh, actually, here this is gonna be rough here. So we got a mage here. It's gonna make this super easy. Okay. A lot of the biggest things I like to do: throw a demo shadow. Okay, especially with all these, throw a demo shadow. It doesn't do too much aggro, but it does generate a little aggro, and that'll at least hopefully draw its attention enough, especially the ones that have not been frost novaed, to at least look at you instead of your mage. Okay, so this is the one we're gonna keep our rage here. This is one we're gonna equip our shield. Okay, because this one hurts a lot. Okay, this is the one with a bunch of elites. Okay, these actually hit a lot, so we're gonna go ahead and equip our shield. We're gonna use our shield real quick to try to build some to mitigate some damage, hopefully build some threat, but as well try to build a threat, and then we're going to swap over to our Dalrens as far as hopefully if we can hold on to our rage. We'll swap in our Dalrens later during the fight once we can at least one, hold aggro, two, kill a few of them, because I think there's like 5 elites here. So knowing beforehand that you're going to be able to counter this and encounter this pack, and it's gonna be rough. So I'm gonna lose my rage. We're gonna go ahead and instead we're gonna start off here. We're gonna start off in battle stance, like I usually do. Everyone's topped off mana. I'm gonna wait a little bit until they come out, and then I'm gonna come out and we're gonna charge, and I'm gonna go and do that. We're gonna demo shout, and we're gonna go into defensive rage, and then go into our stance. And I taunted that. I'm gonna ignore that taunt, and I'm gonna build the rest, and really just do my best to try to build right here on these. I lost one. There we go. I'm gonna taunt that one and ignore the rest, and then I'm gonna try to continue to build rage off of everything else. Everything start dying. I'm gonna quit my Dalrens charger now, and you're gonna find out. You're gonna see when these guys are frost nova'd. Even if you have aggro on these, even if you have aggro on the ones that are frost nova, if you're not within their melee range, they will swap targets to whatever they can reach. Okay, so don't be discouraged. Don't think like, oh, I lost aggro, I'm not doing well. No, it just means that you're just not in range of them. They are rooted, they cannot do anything, and if there just happens to be one of your party members or raid members are closest to them, they'll just automatically swap targets. So there's nothing you can really do there. Okay, and as you can see, I swapped over to my Dalrens because there's that macro. That macro just helps with swapping over, and I have one for equipping the shield, and of course equipping back to my my offhand. Okay, so yeah, so cycling through your sunders, prioritizing and kind of taking a tally and a kind of a mindset, taking a tally of like, okay, where my threat is going, okay, spraying it out. Don't dump it into one when it comes to AoE tanking, that is, you know. That's why I remember I always say, you know, at least go in, thunderclap, demo shout, switch your defensive stance, then blood rage, start spamming thunders, taunt sunder, or sorry, not taunt, but sunder tab target, sunder tab target, sunder tab target, okay, and then prioritize those using your flick. Remember, flick to where you want your tab target to go is super useful as far as when you're tanking in situations like this, because it will prioritize things that are ahead of you. Now sometimes it won't, and you're gonna have to manually, there have been times where I've manually have to have to, you know, actually click on a target, which is fine. It happens, but you know, usually more than not, you know, making sure you just swap over, you're facing your target is super helpful. So here we go. We know that this boss, we're gonna charge in, we're gonna do it up, we're gonna charge in. We need to make sure, for one, we're just gonna get that off, and then we're gonna pull it away, because remember, this person has an aura, okay. And we don't want those skeletons. If you guys don't know, these skeletons, if they are around the boss, so we're gonna do our best not to pull those when they spawn. Don't pull it near the boss. Okay, those skeletons will heal the boss. And see right now, if healer, they're gonna pull. Let them pull. Don't try to hold aggro on those skeletons. Though we don't want those skeletons to heal the boss, and we're gonna go ahead and use a pot. Here we go, help a healer out. Okay, and we're super good on tank, super good on threat. Range DPS are doing what they can. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're handing the ads. There we go, super easy. No mount, that sucks. That would have been great if we got the mount for you guys on this tutorial. Right, that'd be good. So that's about it. Those are just some of the tricks and some of the things that I do when I'm tanking. Of course, it's going to differ between what mob, what you're tanking, which dungeon you're tanking. If you're going to be raiding, okay, usually in a raid setting you're not going to get to charge. Sometimes you will get to charge, okay, but also too, if you are going to charge, be mindful of where your healers are, because if something's going to hit you super hard and your healers are in the back getting mana, they are nowhere near you, you're probably going to die because your healers are too far from you. So just be mindful of where your healers are, where they are on mana. Be mindful of what if you're going to take a lot of damage or not, okay? But hopefully you guys, if you guys even picked up one thing, man, I am glad. Hopefully you guys at least picked up one thing from this, from what we're doing, and I'm going to try to make this a weekly thing. So today was a tanking portion. Next week I'm going to be swapping over to DPS Fury, and I would even suggest even tanks. If you guys are even the tanks, if you guys are tanking and you haven't DPS, we're going to do that next Saturday, and we're going to invite most of the server as well again today, and hopefully they can join. We're going to throw this up on YouTube for those of you guys who missed it, and hopefully if you, like I said, if you even picked up one thing, man, like, I'm happy. And if you guys haven't, that's fine. If you guys are good, if you guys have pointers for me, let me know, because I'm always open to learning new things. Even though I've been tanking for such a long time, if you guys have pointers for me, dude, help me out. Because I am a firm believer that you can really never truly be the best, and if you have that mindset of being the best and you're not open to learning, there's no room for growth. So let's share the information, let's get everyone up to speed, and at the same time, let's have fun, and as long as we can fulfill our role and do the best that we be the best warrior that we can be, we can allow the other classes to be the best hunter, the best mage, the best healer. Let them be the best that they can be. So hopefully you guys had fun. I had a blast. Thanks for coming, and I'll catch y'all next week.